Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 31 of the Wrestling Travel Podcast. My name is Danny, and today I'm joined by two fantastic gentlemen. One, all the way from Wisconsin, Justin Clapper, our US representative and host of the Lockdown Sessions, and UK ring announcer and commentator Mad Dog Mike Angus. Mike, how are you doing this week?
Great, guys. Wonderful to catch up with you as always. It's been a busy week in wrestling. There's been all sorts going on. Everyone's been doing something this week, and it's we're on the road to WrestleMania, 51 days away from WrestleMania 37, and I'm sure we've got loads to talk about today, so I'll let you crack on with it.
Excellent stuff. And Justin, how are you doing over in the States? Are you keeping warm?
Hey, we are coming out of the Arctic blast here in Wisconsin. I believe it got up to 17 degrees Fahrenheit the other day, which is what we normally like to call summer around here. No, so we've been doing really good. So certain parts of the States are still struggling with the cold and snow. But here in Wisconsin, we've been very lucky. So happy to be here talking wrestling with Wrestling Travel with two of my favorite guys that couldn't be here, SB3 and Stewie, but I got you guys.
Yeah, no, we might have SB3 joining us very soon, so we'll keep an eye out for that indeed. But like you said, Mad Dog, plenty of wrestling to discuss. But Justin, as always here on the Wrestling Travel Podcast, we do have a special guest kicking off this episode. Would you be so kind to introduce?
Yes, we are extremely excited, and our lockdown session will drop later on today. But the daughter of Hall of Famer, the British Bulldog, please help me and welcome Miss Georgia Smith to the show.
Hi, hello. Nice to see you guys. Meet you guys.
Hi, Georgia.
Hello. Hello.
Great, Georgia. So we've got Danny, our host of the podcast, and
Hi, Danny.
United Kingdom ring announcer Mad Dog Mike Angus.
Hello, Mike. Nice to meet you guys.
Hi, Georgia. Great to see you.
So, Georgia, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We want to talk to you, obviously, about the Hall of Fame and British Bulldog, but we also want to talk, as we talked about going back to the future with our stuff. Yep. We want to talk about some very cool stuff coming out of Wrestle Merch Central coming out. So I'll let Mad Dog lead it off, our questionnaire extraordinaire.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Georgia, absolute honor to be on with you today. And, from everyone here in the UK, your father, Davey Boy Smith, what an absolute legend. Any child growing up in my era, so I was sort of born in 85, so coming through in the 90s, Davey was an absolute hero to everyone in the UK. And, we didn't have many heroes at that time. It was Mr. Bean or Neil Buchanan. Or even Mr. T popped over to be the genie in Aladdin in Liverpool for me. But, Davey was our British hero. And what a wrestler he was. He didn't look at, perfect alongside people like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Bret the Hitman Hart, all legends of the business. And it was just great for us in the UK to have somebody to look up to. And what a great job he did. And it's so good to see that WrestleMerch Central have honoured him with this line of clothing that's coming out. Only this week did I see the video of the leather jacket being made, the actual production of that. That was awesome to see. And, I followed Davey for a long time, right through his whole career. And, just wonderful to catch up with you. And a little question for you today. I've seen on Instagram that you're looking forward to the Hall of Fame, obviously. And I saw that you were planning on a dress.
Yes.
Blue with the white sides. Is that the one you're still sticking with, or what's your plan for Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. That's a very good question. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that one. I thought maybe a red dress because my dad's favorite color was red, but that one, I think it's just, I feel like it's meant to be used, and I didn't use it last time, and I feel like I gotta just represent it. And I think it's a royal color as well. I think I like it, and the sequins, and I just hope it still fits me by then.
Yeah, I'm sure the girls over at Grown Ass Women, the SoCal Ball and the gang would have appreciated me asking that question for you. And I was just going to say as well, I was lucky enough to bump into you at the WrestleCon in the UK in 2015.
Yep.
And one thing that really stood out to me was the whole family and the camaraderie between the wrestlers. It was great to see the World of Sport guys like Marty Jones interacting with yourself and Harry and your mum, obviously, Diana. It was great to see, obviously, that they were still talking about young David and, fondly remembered from the World of Sport days. And I just wanted to ask, how did you enjoy that trip to London? And what was it like interacting with all the family? Obviously, Brett, and Blade and the Hart family were there as well, with all your cousins and uncles, etc. So, how was that to be in London and catch up with everyone? I'm sure it was a great trip for you.
I loved it. And, I told as many people in England that, wrestling fans, as many of them as I could, to come, because I thought, like, when are we going to have this moment again where we're all in the same place at the same time in England? So I thought, like,
it was a great day.
Yeah. And, like, I don't think it's ever going to, maybe it might happen again, but I don't know how or why it would, unless, there's another WrestleCon. And it just worked that I happened to live in England. As you know, I lived there for 5 years, and it was just such an exciting event. It was such a nice hotel. I'm not sure, like, why they didn't do it again. Maybe it was like money or something, but I was just really grateful for that, and catching up with, the Nasty Boys and, Marty Jones, as you mentioned. And it was just like a big, happy reunion. All that was missing was Davey.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Such a shame, but it was a lovely day. And one thing I did notice as well was that For the Love of Wrestling was due to be running in Liverpool this year. Obviously, due to COVID, that got cancelled. But you were due to be bringing over some of Davey Boy's gear for everyone to have a little look at. So I wasn't sure if that's still penciled in for whenever they get to run again. Is that something you'd be looking forward to doing? Yeah,
I know that they've been postponing it, but they do want to go through with it. I'm not sure. I think they want to do it like in May. Maybe that's too soon, but when they have it going again, I will be there. So you guys will see.
Excellent. Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll be there. Thank you so much. And Justin, if you've got any questions for George, I don't want to hog the whole interview, my friend.
No, I'm happy for you to hog it a little bit, because I'm trying to recall our interview from Monday and make sure I don't double dip on my questions. So that people have an idea to look forward. I know we talked about some of your favorite memories and stuff, and you touched on being at WrestleCon with the Nasty Boys and stuff. Do you still keep in touch with a lot of guys from your dad's era? Still keep in touch with you guys? Oh, yeah, look, there they are, WrestleMerch Central.
Yeah, I just saw. I was like, hi. So about 3 weeks ago, we actually A&E and WWE Network, they're doing a series about wrestlers tracking down their old ring gear. And they wanted to talk to Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake, because, the Dream Team against the British Bulldogs and the outfits they wore there. And they were like, hey, and WWE knew that I did the documentary, and they really wanted some females in this new series. And they were like, would you want to do it? And, you'd see Brutus and Greg, and, we'd have like a reuniting with you guys, and we'd want your mom and your brother. I was like, hell yeah, that would be cool. Mm-hmm. So, there's so many wrestlers, luckily, that live in Florida, old school wrestlers, new wrestlers. So I try to keep in touch with all of them. I went to Hogan's Beach Shop a couple weeks ago. I just happened to bump into him, and it was like no time had passed, and he's just always cool. I see Jimmy Hart. There's a Cracker Barrel. Justin, you know Cracker Barrel. Yeah. I see him at Cracker Barrel all the time. I haven't seen him in a while, because I haven't been to Cracker Barrel in a while, but when I go, I see him. I see him at the restaurants. He must live by me, and he's always like, hey, baby, your dad we made some money. Nobody got injured. Yeah, good times. He's cool. But yeah, and I think it's important that I keep in touch with them, and because they meant a lot to my dad, and my dad meant a lot to them. So my brother and I, we try to keep in touch.
Yeah, no, that must be great for them to be able to keep in touch. One thing I know, I said that eventually, hopefully, I can get Harry on a lockdown. I want to ask a Harry question here. Was it took me a while to figure out when they filmed Hogan Knows Best, and they had that episode where it was almost like they were gonna try to hook Harry up with Brooke. Yeah. That must have been, because looking back on that, I'm like, at the time I didn't recognize anybody, but then I see that was that kind of his first like big TV thing over here. I don't know how old. I can't picture how long ago that was, but that was a while back.
I guess you're right because I was graduating high school. It was in 2006, and Harry was out. He had just gotten signed with WWE, and I think he did a tour in Australia with them. And I don't think they had put him on TV yet. He was just kind of doing shows with them, like dark matches and opening matches. And Johnny Ace actually contacted him and was like, Hogan needs a guy for Brooke, and Hogan and I thought you'd be perfect for it. And they flew Harry out the next day. He had gotten back from Australia, and they flew him out to Miami from Calgary the next day, and they paid him $500 for it. VH1 did. And he was just telling me how, and at the time Hogan was living in Miami. He wasn't in Tampa. He was living in Miami, and he was living in, I think it was, what's the guy's name that directed Terminator? James Cameron
Cameron, yeah.
Yeah, it was his house that Hogan was like renting, or that was his house, or Hogan bought it. I'm not sure, but Harry said it was a really nice house and it was really fun. And Hogan, they didn't show it in the scene, but he was telling at the dinner table, like, oh, Harry, he's related to Bret Hart, Diana Hart, Owen Hart. And she was like, Jimmy Hart? And he's like, no, not Jimmy Hart. And she's like, oh. But like, I don't think she realized. And Harry was like, okay. But yeah, he had a lot of fun with that. And that was, like you said, his first big TV thing. He came, he did the scene, and then he left. And, it was all scripted, obviously. But he had fun.
Yeah, it's a fun show to watch. I tell you what, I don't know if did you guys get a lot of that in the UK, fellas? The Hogan
yeah,
Knows
I think
Best?
we had it on it was on MTV over here, so
yeah.
Great. Yeah, so look for that episode if you're watching.
You can find it on YouTube. Yeah, if you look up Harry Smith, Hogan Knows Best, you'll find it. He was just a youngin'. He had like this really cheap knockoff Versace shirt. I don't know where he got it from. I think my cousin Ted. And he's just like such a baby face in it. And yeah, check it out. Check Harry's big first TV moment on VH1.
Harry's debut.
Yeah.
He's got a big moment coming up quite soon, hasn't he, guys? Is he taking on John Moxley at Bloodsport, did I see?
Oh, yeah, he is. I can't wait to see that.
Huge match for Harry. That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, he really had fun with it. He's been feeling, I think we all have been, obviously, with this pandemic, and it's really hit the wrestling scene, and him getting to travel and wrestle John Moxley, I think it's really lifted his spirits. I know they had quite the fight, but he was just so happy.
Excellent stuff. I was going to say as well. Sorry, Justin. I was just going to say.
Go ahead, Mike.
I listened to your interview with Stu's Wrestling Podcast over here, and obviously Stu's a guest who appears on the show with us as well. But he's a great guy, and I love the interview there. And in that, you mentioned about the upcoming WWE Icons documentary series. I watched the one with Yokozuna the other week. That was marvelous. So everyone over here is absolutely stoked. Looking forward to the British Bulldog episode. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about that, that would be great to hear.
Yeah, so I think my dad's episode, as I told Justin, I think it's going to be like the second last, if not the last episode. They want it to be like, besides Yokozuna, I'm not taking anything away from anybody else, but they want it to be the most anticipated episode, which I'm very, very grateful for. And I just, I can't wait to see it. I'm just grateful for WWE that this has finally happened, because this is something that I've been wanting to do for my dad for years. And I didn't know if it was going to be with WWE or if it was going to be with another company. And coincidentally, another company in England, a film company, they want to do a documentary on my dad, but it's going to be completely different. So I'll keep everybody posted on that. And we're just, it's early stages right now, but so it was a really an emotional, therapeutic experience. And, Harry doesn't really talk a lot about, he talks a lot about my dad, but you're going to see stuff that we've never talked about, and just moments that, and you guys will see the man that was, I called my dad and who I loved and who was an amazing person. And usually guys will just get an inside thing. And, we obviously talk about his passing, and, Harry doesn't really talk about that, and you'll see that. And it was just a celebration of my dad and honoring him. And, he was an icon, and as we say in there, he was the best British wrestler of all time. The biggest guy that came out of England to become successful in the wrestling scene. And yeah, it was really, I'm kind of like, oh God, cringing, because like the whole time I've got like, I think I'm like crying, so from like start to finish. But I really poured my heart and my soul into it, and I put on a lot of work, as my mom and Harry did as well. And I was just really proud of WWE, and it was just very admirable that, you know, during this time, you know, we still came together and we've made something great. And, you know, with the whole traveling restrictions, we still got my mom here. Everybody stayed safe. We all had the masks. We all did whatever. We all just came together as a team, and we did it for Davey. So I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Looking forward to it so much. It's going to be great. And as we said before, you must be buzzing about the Hall of Fame. I know you worked so hard with the team, Davey, and everything. You know, there was so many people rooting for that to happen. And, you know, it's finally going to happen this year. So great stuff.
I know. I feel like, you know, it was, you know, obviously it was meant to happen last year. But, you know, things, unfortunately, I'm just trying to look at the bright side of things. You know, things happen the way that they're meant to. And now look at all the buildup that's happening leading up to the Hall of Fame with my dad. You know, everybody's like waiting and waiting and waiting. And now I think with the documentary and everything, and my dad's popularity rising, and it's just going to make it more special, that more special. And, you know, I'm really nervous about it. I'm not sure how much time that they're going to allow me to talk. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be in front of an audience. So I've got a little benefit there, because I would be so nervous in front of all those people. But I cannot wait until it happens. But then once it happens, it's like, I feel like that's kind of it. Like my time with WWE. I mean, I would love to continue doing stuff with them and continue doing whatever, but you know, everything that I've wanted with my dad has happened, and now I'm like, wow, it's like the guy that found Bigfoot. That was searching for Bigfoot. That's like, okay, what's next now? But I'm just excited for, you know, this next chapter. But as you know, we were talking about the petition and everything. We've been waiting and waiting and working so hard, and it's all happening. It's crazy. It hasn't hit me yet.
Georgia, he's never going to be forgotten, though, because his legend will absolutely live on. You know, from the even over in the UK now, you have young tag teams coming through who are saying we want to be like the British Bulldogs, we want to be like, you know, Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy, and you know, that's all the UK tag teams. That's what they want to aspire to. And you've got the young team like the Billington Bulldogs, you know, who are Tommy's family, obviously, are coming through at the moment. We're looking forward to working with them at Superstar Pro Wrestling here in the UK. And, you know, it's just exciting times. And, you know, people are never going to forget Davey Boy Smith. That's the thing. It's always going to be, you know, it's such great times and so many great matches. You know, what a guy.
Exactly. He's as we know, he's an icon and a legend. And my dad was only here for, you know, a short amount of time, but it feels like with everything it felt like he was alive for like 1,000 years. All the memories and all the content, and you know, with his page, you guys see on social media, I'm discovering things all the time and finding things out about my dad all the time and seeing new content that I've never seen before. And it's just like, wow, it's like, I didn't know my dad did this. I didn't know, wow, this is, and I'm discovering new things about him. And it's just really cool. And I just know, you know, his, like you said, his legacy is going to live on forever. And yeah.
No, very cool. I was going to ask when Mike was talking to you about like the Icon show last year when the Hall of Fame, when the induction was announced that he was going to be in the Hall of Fame, did you have like these shows were they planned, or has it kind of been nice and sweet that you've had this build up to be able to really do this right with WWE?
Yeah, it wasn't planned.
They didn't have any shows. No, so I think this, because I know it was probably announced and then shortly after the COVID hit. So like you said, everything's kind of meant to be and it's kind of falling in place. And it's got to be just your family just being able to have, he's going to live forever in video footage and tributes and stuff. That's got to be, I mean, it hurts that he's no longer with us, but it's got to be that tiny bit of lining that like he's got this epic body of work. You're discovering more and more of it. but that he lives on forever. But speaking of things that will kind of go on forever, I want to talk a little bit about the Wrestle Merch Central. We talked a little bit, and there is some cool stuff. I encourage everybody to get on Wrestle Merch Central's Twitter and watch the making of that the Heart Foundation Bulldog leather vest. It's so cool. I didn't realize, they hand painted and stuff, but there's a ton of merch coming out of there.
It is
Bulldog style. Are you wearing a Bulldog sweatshirt again today?
I was gonna say, so Back to the Future, when we talked, you saw me with the new hoodie. This is like my go-to. This is like my everyday, like I'm always wearing this. And then if you see on the back of it, it's got that. It's really cool. I don't know if you saw that.
Awesome.
And I've got like another one with my dad's face on it, and that's my other go-to hoodie. They're just like the most softest, most comfiest. Just put me in these and leggings, and I'm good to go. But
same thing Mad Dog said.
I've got my Bulldog t-shirts on today. This was out of this was the Wrestle Crate one, so I need to update my wardrobe and get the new stuff, get the Heart Foundation stuff on as well.
You got it. Yeah, you got to get that. I love that shirt too, by the way. And I was actually talking to Dean, as you guys know Dean from Wrestle Merch, and we want to come up with a Hall of Fame shirt for Davey.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
Awesome.
I think that'd be a really good idea. So we're coming up with that. And they just came out with I call them fanny packs. Some of you guys call them bum bags. But there's a Bulldog one because my dad, he was known for rocking the fanny packs. So Dean came up with one, and it's got this Bulldog logo all over it. It's really cool. I was like, can you please, I really want one. So I can't wait to rock that. And it's just good to have when you're walking around. And yeah, they're coming up with new stuff all the time. As I told Justin as well, it's like pro wrestling tees, but pro wrestling tees like on another level. The quality is so good. You get cups, towels, like anything, pretty much you name it. And they're coming up with new stuff all the time. And yeah, if you guys out there, check it out. Based in the UK, based in Davey's homeland. It's awesome. And yeah, I will be rocking a lot of this stuff WrestleMania weekend. So
yeah, it looks great. And like I said, that video where they're hand painting that vest just tells you that you're not getting something cheap. You're getting a quality items coming out of Wrestle Merch Central, and we're happy to know Dean and Wrestle Merch Central too. So that's pretty exciting. And you can't beat these classic logos.
No.
And everything too. I mean, these people should be. I mean, I'm excited just seeing that sweatshirt with that logo on it.
I know, isn't this? I love the sweatshirt. I was so excited because Dean and I were talking about it when I lived in England years ago about it, and it just the timing. I'm not sure, but now it's weird during COVID. It just happened. And I'm just so grateful for it because I wanted to open up a store for my dad, and I was like, I don't really know what to do. I don't really know where to start. And then, oh, awesome, Lewis! He just ordered a Bulldog tank top. Good man.
Lewis is on it.
Lewis is on it, and I don't know. I just kind of maybe I put it out there in the universe because I was like, I really want to do that. I really want to take my dad's stuff to the next level. And lo and behold, Dean was like, hey, Georgia, we're going to open up the store, and we want your dad to be like the first store for it. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm so grateful. And I think my dad, I wish my dad was here because he'd be wearing these all over the place.
Mm-hmm. What is it now, Danny and Mike, you guys being of obviously UK descent, like, is this one of the biggest Hall of Fame inductions? Like, I mean, that personal pride that you, because I know how big he has been to you guys in the UK, but this has got to be, what has it been like for you guys? Somebody you grew up watching, definitely. Mad Dog.
Yeah, this is the biggest one for me. I've been over a couple of times to the States for and it really enjoyed the Hall of Fames I've attended. I was lucky enough to be at the induction of when Mr. Perfect got inducted, when Yokozuna got inducted, a couple of the greats. But this is the one everyone in the UK has been looking forward to. At For the Love of Wrestling last year, or the year before even, I did a small speech in the ring before I did an interview, and I said, everyone get behind the support this and everything and make it happen. And, that's what everyone's wanted, and everyone over here is just so glad that it's happening, and it'll be great to see. Just going back to one little thing you said about discovering new stuff. Stu Palmer actually sent me something this week that I'd never seen before, which was which was the video from Michael Landsberg used to do the Off the Record.
Yes.
And it was the Off the Record with Davey, with Davey and the Anvil and Honky Tonk Man that I'd never seen that before. And obviously Davey was rocking the fanny pack on that one, and and that was a great little insight into a bit of the wrestling era that I really hadn't I'd missed out on that, because it was a sort of they were obviously done off the record and outside the business, and there wasn't a lot of we didn't get a lot of that over here. So to see that this week, Stu just sent me that randomly and said, "Oh look, this has just popped up. Have a watch of this." And it was great, and Davey obviously power slams him, obviously. So
yeah.
So that was a great one to see.
I think because when I first watched it, I was like, that guy's got who does he think he is to say that stuff? Like, you know what I mean? He was kind of a bit like, what makes you think? But that's his whole spiel. Is because he's off the record. He's supposed to be like, ruthless or whatever. Like that's just his character. But I think Michael Landsberg, I think he's a really nice guy, and I've spoken to him just on social media, and he always says really nice things about my dad. But he does a good job, crossing that line. Because I wouldn't, if I was that guy, I wouldn't want to say anything to Davey. I would just keep my mouth shut. But that's his job. Our relationship with George's family goes back almost 30 years when we worked with the WWE in the late 80s till 2001 as a merchandiser. We are happy and honored to continue that relationship and honor the Bulldog's legacy. Oh, thank you, Wrestle Merch Central. And I'm so grateful for you guys. I was going to say, Matt, thank you again for, speaking and pushing my dad's Hall of Fame. And that really means a lot.
No worries at all. And just thank you so much for, everything that he did for British wrestling. It's just, I got to pick a card last year. People asked me to pick a card of what would be my favorite British wrestling matchup. And I decided that the match I most wanted as my main event would be Davey against Pac, who I think is doing great over in the States at the moment for AEW. I just think that would be a combination of two absolutely brilliant wrestlers, different eras. I just think that would be an amazing match because, the strength and speed of those guys would be cracking match. So yeah, that was my pick for that anyway. But
yeah, I would have loved to have seen Davey and Drew McIntyre also go head to head.
Yeah.
Your guys
another great one.
Mad Dog, your head would explode. You're such a Drew McIntyre guy and a Bulldog guy. I don't even know if you can handle that.
Yeah. I've got to support the UK guys. They're doing great.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you get George? I'm sure you will. If you haven't, but some of this younger generation reaching out like a Drew and stuff and going, hey man, I really enjoyed watching your father and stuff grow up. I mean, I imagine that must that's got to make you feel great as well.
It does. And there's a lot of like NXT UK guys that are, probably about a good 10 years younger than me. And they follow my dad on social media and they're always liking his stuff. And I see all the time like, oh, that's cool. I see they're always supporting him, but it's just my brain's a little foggy right now because I'm like trying to pinpoint like their names. There's so many names, but it's just like you said, it's just really cool to see that like the younger generation. And as Harry and I discussed in the documentary, and as WWE said as well, I believe that there would be no NXT UK if it wasn't for my dad.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
yeah. No, I mean the impression that's left on and the legacy that keeps going is impressive. One thing I wanted to touch on that we did touch on during our interview, but I want to make sure everybody watching has a chance. We talked a little bit about favorite matches, but I want to point everybody out to a hidden gem. Speaking of Back to the Future, if you go on YouTube, it's still on there, but. You boys, I'm going to mention the AWA. How would I get the AWA mentioned into this? There is a gem of a match that most people think, hey, if we had a dream match, I'd like to see the British Bulldogs wrestle this team. But if you go on and look up the British Bulldogs versus the Rock and Roll Express, I believe it happened in 1988. And when I mentioned that to Georgia, you had already said Harry had already pointed out the match, but it's still out there on YouTube. So you kind of get to go. A lot of times we have dream matches and we're like, what if, so-and-so wrestled so-and-so. Here's one that I don't think a lot of people are aware of that happened, and it's out there, British Bulldogs, Rock and Roll Express. And I know you said Ricky and Robert talked with you about that match and stuff. So a hidden gem that we've now unhidden from you.
Yes.
Help
Yes.
me out, fellas. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out. And coincidentally, Harry and my dad, obviously a long time ago, they talked about that match. And my dad, he said he really enjoyed it. I haven't watched the full thing. I've just seen clips of it. But check it out. Check it out. And if you guys see the Rock and Roll Express, get their thoughts, feedback, because I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, big thing is Danny's got your socials right there, but you do a lot of some charity work with English Bulldogs. Can you talk about that? Some of the
So there was the English Florida Bulldog Rescue back in July, I think it was. Yeah, and I started with them, and I did a T-shirt design. A guy and I came together. A guy in England, he designed it, and we just got these shirts out there. This was before Wrestle Merch, and every single shirt, the money that I made from there went to the Bulldog Rescue Foundation. And it's the Florida English Bulldog Rescue. Check it out on Instagram. I think that's that one long name. But I made nearly, I think $1,000 on it and I got $8 a shirt. So it was pretty successful. I was really happy with it. I just tried it, and and I want to eventually rescue a bulldog, and I want to do other charity stuff as well, as I discussed with you, with my dad. Because my dad, cancer was close to, he lost his mom and his sister with cancer, and I would love to do a foundation with that as well for my dad.
And as I told you at the end of the interview too, wrestling travel, I'm sure Mad Dog Mike Angus, Wrestle Merch, once those things start going, please let us know. We can help share and get the word out.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be our honor to help out with that.
Yeah, I would love to do something again with the English Florida Bulldog Rescue. It's a long name. But I'd love to. I just want to keep continuing and do whatever I can, and do things like I mentioned that are near and dear to my dad's heart, like animals and cancer research, and so thank you guys for your support with that.
Oh, 100%. And just following off the Bulldog thing, did Davey bring Matilda home at times or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. I guess she was technically our dog. Yeah, he traveled with her. She wasn't really too keen on my mom or Dynamite, but Davey, she was very protective and territorial of, and was really close to him. And when she was home, she just stuck with him. And she was such a beautiful dog, a bit cranky, a bit diva-ish, but she was a nice dog. And he had Winston with us as well. But Winston, it was just too hot in Florida for him. So my dad gave Winston I think he gave him to Ultimate Warrior's limo driver. Yeah, random. And Matilda, I don't know where Matilda went. I think my dad gave her to a wrestler or something. But yeah, she needed to retire. And then Winston, it was just too hot for him. And he moved to Arizona, where it was a little more dry and better for his face.
Yeah. I had completely forgotten about Winston. So
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to ask. I'd be amiss if I didn't mention this, but Davey was well known for backstage ribs. Him and Owen and Dynamite as well. What was your favorite rib or joke that Davey ever played that you know of?
He didn't really pull any jokes with me, but what I thought was funny was him and Owen. Do you remember the Godwins, like Henry Godwin and all that? And they had the sheep and the goats and I think it was just goats and pigs, but they put the goats inside Vince's office at a show. And that goats destroyed all of his paperwork, and he walked in, he's like, "Owen, Bulldog." And they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And he just walked in, and the goat's on his desk was and just chowing down on a piece of paper, and just made they're just all in the garbage, and I thought that was pretty fun.
Awesome. I can only imagine Vince's reaction to that after seeing some bits that I'm saying. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that one.
I know. Yeah. So that's probably my favorite one.
Oh, brilliant.
No, excellent. Absolutely fantastic. But Georgia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this afternoon, this morning where you are, of course. And we'd certainly love to get you back on again in the future to discuss more, especially after obviously the Hall of Fame has been and all the documentaries have been out and everything there. So, yeah, thank you very much for taking the time. And we look forward to seeing more of you in the future. Yeah,
thank you guys so much for having me. And you guys just gave me such a warm welcome. And thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Sometimes I just get sick of hearing the sound of my own voice because I do these things all the time, but I felt like this was just such a nice, natural conversation, and you guys are really cool, and I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, that'd be great afterwards. Can you, before you go, we've got your Twitter up here, but you also run the British Bulldog one. Can you go over those, all the socials that you can for us so everybody watching can kind of catch up and follow along?
Yes. So my dad's Instagram that I run, and as I told Justin, all of my dad's stuff I'm in head of. So yeah, you'll catch me on my dad's Instagram. It's at the British Bulldog Davy Boy Smith. I know, again, it's a very long name, but that's his name. And he's also on Twitter. It's at _ Davy Boy Smith. He is on Facebook at facebook.com / the British Bulldog. As I told Justin as well, he also has a website. So if there's anything that, people watch here and they thought, oh, I want to ask Georgia a question or Harry a question, obviously keep it respectful and clean and nice. But I try to respond and keep up to date with that as much as I can. And you'll also see my dad's diet on there. You'll see his workout, any news, things like that. You'll see on there. It's really come together really nicely. And so check it out. Check out his website, and also Wrestle Merch. His store is on there as well. And yeah, my Instagram, you feel free to, if you guys want to follow me, it's at Georgia J. Smith. My Twitter is at Georgia Smith 87, and I'm Facebook.com Georgia Smith 7. I like 7 because I was born in 87. So yeah, keep in touch with me and my dad's stuff. And my dad's been gone for nearly 20 years, but he is the busiest man right now. He's just, and I'm very, very, very grateful for that. And he deserves all the credit in the world. And yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see the documentary, and we can all celebrate the Hall of Fame together. And yeah,
awesome. We cannot wait. So
thank you again.
Thank you guys.
Great to chat to you.
Great to chat with you, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
See you in the UK soon.
All right, stay safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Please check out Wrestling Travel. They're a great sponsor for us. They help us with so many different events, so many different traveling inquiries. They are the greatest. They have been seen at Starrcade, Warrior Wrestling, you name it. Wrestling Travel is one of the premier traveling organizations for pro athletes such as ourselves.
Fantastic stuff there from Georgia. What a great guest to have on episode 31. There's some fantastic stories and some fantastic things upcoming, of course, with her and Davy Boy himself. They're fantastic indeed. And of course, as she mentioned there, make sure you head on over to Wrestle Merch Central to find all of the British Bulldog merchandise. And of course, there is some Wrestling Travel merchandise on there as well with our brand new t-shirts. So make sure you check them out at Wrestle Merch Central. Also, just a bit of news as well for you coming up at 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm hoping that's right. We do have a
quick match.
Our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. That is in partnership with our great friends at Wrestling Trader, and that will launch at 6 p.m. And we will tell you exactly what that giveaway is at the end of the show. Justin.
Well, you broke up a little bit there, but I think you brought it back so we could hear exactly.
You saved it.
That's why you saw me and Mad Dog's faces were like.
As long as it was safe. But yeah, giveaway at 6 p.m. UK time in partnership with our great friends at Wrestling Trader. Make sure you stay with us and make sure you enter that giveaway. It's going to be an exclusive one. Indeed. But let's get to the wrestling, fellas. Shall we? Justin, your fingers up again.
Well, my fingers going up because I didn't know if there was anything coming to our YouTube channel today later on.
It's all going to get announced soon.
I'll relax then. I'm sorry.
Actually, I've got one thing I wanted to add, Dan. Sorry to be a pain, but while we're talking about WrestleMerch Central, no, you're doing a great job. I was just going to say WrestleMerch Central as well is in partnership with TNT Extreme Wrestling at the moment. I didn't want to mention it earlier while Georgia was mentioning her things, but obviously we've got some new TNT merch on there. Check it out now. You can pick your color of t-shirts. We've got a new Haskins Overkill t-shirt with Vicky and Mark on, Kings of the North t-shirts, Lizzie Evo, and also Alexis Falcon. There's loads of great TNT Extreme merch on WrestleMerch Central as well, so make sure to check that out. And carry on, Dan, sorry.
Hey, at least I was trying to push Georgia in wrestling travel stuff. This guy, he's out of control.
Anyone else?
That's what I left the film now while we've just got a moment to catch our breath after that awesome interview. Smashed it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So yeah, and over WrestleMerch Central, of course, for British Bulldog, TNT Extreme, and Wrestling Travel merch there. But let's head back to the weekend, and we'll start with NXT Vengeance Day, which I thought was a very, very solid show from start to finish. Of course, we had the shocking moment at the end with Adam Cole turning on his Undisputed Era friends there. Of course, Finn Balor retained the title against Pete Dunne, even though me and Mad Dog wanted Pete to win that, of course. But I'll start with you, Mad Dog. What was your obviously when that moment happened at the end of NXT? What was your thinking there?
Yeah, shocked. I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking Undisputed Era would stay together and come up to the main roster and everything, but it looks like Adam Cole, baby's going after the NXT title himself. But going back to Vengeance Day, Dan, what a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I could argue that every result went against what I would have liked to have happened, but but it was still a great show. I stayed up in the UK till what was 4 o'clock in the morning. I stayed up till in the UK watching it, but it was worth it. Great show. Justin got his wishes. MSK rode their wave of excitement through and won against the Grizzled Young Veterans. But what a match those guys had. Grizzled Young Veterans put on a great show. And, the MSK came out on top this time. But I'm sure it won't be the last year here of the Grizzled Young Veterans. The boys from Liverpool will be back and they will get their revenge. Other things that happened on the show, it was really great. I'd just like to say congratulations to Eli Drake, who signed from Impact Wrestling. He was one of my favorites on Impact, a real standout there. And I'm excited to see what he does as LA Knight on NXT. Yeah, I think it fits quite well with his character. That's definitely not going to be forgotten easily. And just looking through the card, I think Justin must be really happy. I'm excited to hear what he has to say about it because all the results that he wanted all seemed to go his way. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai had a great match with Ember Moon and Shotzi, and they obviously won the Ladies Dusty Classic there. There was a huge choke slam at the end of that by Raquel Gonzalez, which was a standout moment. And definitely there was a brutal crossbody earlier on in the match that really stood out in that one. Johnny Gargano retained against Kushida, which was another great bout. And, just the whole card from start to finish was brilliant. The triple threat ladies match was a little bit shorter than I'd anticipated. With the packages hyping up that match had been something else. The Toni Storm one and the Mercedes Martinez one had me really, wanting one of them to do the business. But it was Io Shirai who came out on top. And with that leap off that bit of whatever it is, the lighting rig or whatever at ringside, that was a pretty epic moment. So she was pretty high up there. And it was a great catch by Toni Storm on that one. The table fell apart a little bit easier than expected. Toni Storm didn't know her own strength there, as she put on Twitter the next day. It just crumbled beneath her strength. But obviously everyone wants to talk about the main event. I've been looking forward to seeing Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor for so long, and it didn't disappoint. It was brutal. It was methodical by Pete, taking apart Finn Balor, and it took a lot from Finn to retain his title there. with that 1916 right at the end, the big spike DDT, and you know, it could have gone either way there. I still think Pete Dunne, you know, I want to see him with that belt around his waist, and you know, let's see what happens as we lead on into the next takeover and towards Mania. But yeah, overall, NXT Vengeance Day, one of my favorite pay-per-views I've stayed up and watched in a long time. It was a great show, really interesting, hard-hitting matches. Everything made sense storyline-wise, and it was, you know, just a really good pay-per-view. Well done to the guys in NXT, guys and girls in NXT. They're a great show. What did JC think?
Well, I'm happy with Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. Obviously, I thought that even if they weren't facing Ember Moon and your guys' hero, Shotzi Blackheart, I thought they've been an incredible team this whole time. One of my drawbacks, and so I want to air my grievances right out on here, is some of the moves and stuff that they're doing a little bit more risky than I think is necessary. Some of those dives, and I'm not a big fan of the dives through the ropes, but I can't remember who, maybe it was Dakota, but coming awfully close to just spearheading into that table, which, as we know, probably wouldn't have put up much of a fight at then. She took the high cross body outside of the ring, just a brutal bump. Looks good on TV. I'm just not so sure how necessary some of those bumps are, just because I want to see these ladies and guys go on forever. My biggest disappointing match was the women's match. Now I'll watch it maybe a little bit differently, but did you guys? I can catch Mad Dog. You've have you been through school? I'm assuming that you have, been around the business. It drives me batty. The wasted movement, the stutter steps and stuff when they're doing the crisscross across the ropes. I can really notice it throws off the timing and stuff like that. And I know I'm getting technical, but hopefully that stuff they work on so stuff is smooth. And I don't mean choreographed like these gymnastics moves, because you know I hate them, but just the stutter steps and wasted movement. And the finish of that match really bothered me, because the referee is telegraphing that whole ending by not going over there. And then when he does, Tony looks ridiculous having to kind of crawl out of the way there. Just stuff like that really kind of irks me. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of hey, we're going to choreograph 10 moves. We're going to wrestle an invisible kid, but I want believability in that. That's not what would happen. You wouldn't just, hey, I got to crawl out of here so I can make the finish. And I know I'm different. I know I'm old school, but let me give credit where credit is due. That MSK Grizzled Young Veterans match, and everybody knows this, I'm not telling anybody anything new. That match is not as epic without the fact that that's 5 guys technically with the referee working really good together. And there was one match where they telegraphed where he pulled the rope down, which I thought was, but otherwise I could suspend my disbelief. And these guys are going at it realistically, reacting the way they would in a normal fight. I loved it. The main event, same thing. I'm not a fan of the broken fingers moved by Pete Dunne, but Balor sold it well. It was just, but you're right. Besides me being cutting it down, dissecting it from start to finish, very entertaining pay-per-view. I was into it. I took a family phone call during the Gargano Kushida match. Unfortunately, I saw Austin Theory get kidnapped, and then I did get a chance to get back to it, but I know that one would have been epic. But I gotta say, I that main event was just finally like a main event that I was super stoked for it, and then of course Undisputed Era coming out. It is what it is, but I wanted to, if that pay-per-view would have ended without the swerve there, I think we still do great. It was entertaining. And then I go on and watch, stuff later on in the week that WWE does, and it just baffles me how we can have such a, I guess, enough people talking about how great that pay-per-view was, and why can't we keep up that action and that stuff. I was watching it last night, and I gotta be honest with you, there's guys and girls on there that I don't recognize now. And I'm like, just like what's Carmella's wine guy that I was
Reginald.
like Reginald, and I was like, dude, we saw him on the pay-per-view, and I was like, well, I must be on potty breaks when this guy's on, but no, but the top to bottom, man, very entertaining. For an old guy like me, I want reactions, I want believability in that ring, and I think when you get that, like, I can watch Monkey High Spots and be impressed with them and do that, but if you pay attention, when we get those matches where there's believable reactions and stuff that would actually happen if we suspend our disbelief, those are the ones that get the buzz, and everybody's like, look at Walter and Dragunov,
Yeah.
And I understand there's a little bit of here for everything, for everybody, but for me, being a purist, I'm like, man, if we could just not, if we could do, and this came as close to anyone as being believable, and it's not the fault of the performers in the ring. It's just, okay, we got to get out. This is the way the match is drawn up. But it's just when they're done right, they're the ones that get the internet buzz. Of course, the high flying spots get it too. But from the grizzled old vet, that's my thoughts.
Excellent. I was just going to go back to one little point you made, Justin, which was about the unnecessary dives to the outside. Talking about unnecessary dives, did anyone see SmackDown at all? There was a dive to the outside early on in a match, which was Dominic Mysterio, where he went straight into the announce table, and that was a horrific dive this week. I was just like, what is he thinking there? That was madness. I know the guy wants to show his skills and everything, but that is not a way. Smashing your face into an announce table is not a way, to show your skills. That was a disaster. But just thought I'd mention that while we were talking about.
No, you bring up. It's a solid time to bring that up, because just from watching the wrestling that we know that Vince, when he's running, safety with some of the stuff, especially if you watch Beyond the Mat, where you see Michael Modest and Tony Jones in there, they do a spot, and McMahon's like, we got to work on that, and I'm not calling McMahon a hero or anything, but some of these, the dives, in my opinion, have to be toned down anyway, because it's not realistic for the three of us to be in a schmaz outside the ring and then all of a sudden turn and wait. Everybody's kind of in on it. We need to innovate, and diving headfirst in the table is not the way to do it. The safety. I want to be entertained, but I want everybody to be safe. I don't want like a Dominic Mysterio to have a headfirst dive and that takes a couple years off his ring career, or worse. That's where I'm at on that. I don't like to see it. And some people watch NASCAR for the car wrecks. I know that, but we're talking about people's well-beings. I want it to be believable. I want it to be intense. And sure, stuff is going to happen, but there are things that we can control. There's that Dakota Kai, that crossbody outside. I felt that. Holy balls. My hat's off to her, but also I want to say, Dakota, don't take that anymore.
Yeah, no, certainly. And Justin, of course, you mentioned this before we came on the air, the whole spot from last night after NXT went off the air with Kyle O'Reilly. Can you just explain a little bit more about what happened and obviously what your thoughts were on that?
Yeah, well, there was reports, when I flipped back and forth, and there was reports that Kyle O'Reilly had a seizure after NXT went off the air. There was pictures of Triple H, attending to him. He's on a stretcher, and I thought, oh, geez. There's all kinds of speculation on Twitter. I took over our Twitter and said, obviously wished him well. But then it's kind of coming out that, and I wish SP3 were here because True Hill Heat was all over it, that was part of an angle. And I got to say, I don't like it. I don't understand. unless I obviously I only see this much of the picture. They see the bigger. But if that was part of an angle, I don't think it's done in really good taste. If they do it on the air, but kind of off the air was kind of where, okay, you got all of us very concerned for Kyle O'Reilly. Obviously the well-being and somebody having a seizure. I know Adam Cole had tweeted on it, which he should, even if the guy was legitimately something happened, a good heel would go, yeah, you know what, blah, 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 and sell it. Yeah, obviously we know that there's Adam Cole, the person, and Adam Cole, the character, but I'm not quite sure. I don't have a definitive answer. Did he actually have a seizure? And now they're covering it up by saying it's an angle, or if the whole seizure was part of an angle? I guess I'll wait to see what the payoff is and what people are thinking about that. But that's just, to me, if that's an angle, that's a little bit in poor taste. As I get older, you feel your own mortality. Sometimes you kids might not realize it, but to me, if that was a seizure that was made up for an angle, I'm not really a big fan of it. But my well wishes go out to Kyle O'Reilly and everybody there. Anyway, I'm just Mad Dog. I know it's on really late.
I stayed up and watched it. Yeah, so I watched it, but the thing the sort of people want the lines between fiction and actually what happens blurring a little bit, don't they? So the thing I'd go back to is I remember as a kid, I was probably about 7 or 8, and they had a match with, I believe it was Owen Hart against Shawn Michaels, where he did he kicked him to the back of the head and Shawn went down and passed out. Do you remember that storyline that they did? So I'm guessing that this is just looking on from, moving on from that. Bearing in mind that was 25 years ago now. If it is a work, as a lot of people are suggesting that it is, maybe they've just missed the mark slightly by saying that he's had a seizure or whatever. I think maybe because they were selling it big at the end of the show, it did look like there was a bit of blood on Kyle O'Reilly's back after the move that he hit him on the steps with. But wherever they've just gone OTT on the storyline a little bit and thought, this is what this is going to get people invested in it. Whereas really they've just gone, by saying that he's had a seizure might be a little bit too close to the bone, if you know what I mean. So that's where I'd go with it. And hopefully it is a work and he's not had a seizure, because obviously that's not what you want to be happening on the show. But I think they are trying to build up layers on the storyline, aren't they? And I think they're in that situation. They've just misstepped the mark ever so slightly by saying he's had a seizure, because obviously on Twitter exploded. People were so concerned about him. There was people asking what hospital he was going to and things, and it's just that there's a way of sort of predicting the outcome of if you do something like that in a storyline. And I think maybe this time they went a little bit too far. And I'm sure in the next day or so it'll be rectified and it'll be, this is what actually happened, and suddenly everything will be at peace and it'll move forward with the story. But but for last night, which was 4:00 in the UK, there were a lot of people who were watching it were very concerned, and obviously yourselves as well watching it were as well. So some people would argue that is part of the storytelling of wrestling these days, but I think probably they've misstepped slightly. Go for it, Justin.
The interesting point is I have been to several Sports Business Journal conferences in Manhattan in the past with my other work on ESPN, and WWE does lead social media among a lot of sports. They're into it. So I know that a while back the talk was the second screen media. Like, I'm watching the show, but I've also got my phone or my tablet out there kind of following along. And I don't know if this falls into like, hey, we can kind of keep this angle going out on social media if it is indeed, like you said, a worked angle. But, back when that Owen and Shawn, I'd rather be very vague and say, hey, he's collapsed. We'll get a report out of there. But I think that word seizure is, I don't want to say triggers, but it does. If you've had a family member or somebody close to you that suffers with any type of seizure, that hits very close to home. So, and it's tough because we're here discussing it and we don't know, but whether it was or whether it wasn't, my thoughts and well wishes are with Kyle O'Reilly, as were everybody's thoughts last night on Twitter. Wrestlers from other organizations as well. I like to, I'm big on believability when it comes to the actual ring action and stuff like that. And I know there are some fans that have a very blurred line of what that is. And I don't want to mention it any more than we get what was going on with Alexa and stuff going on when fans have this blurred reality. But this is something medical that I think, man, we like you said, might have missed the mark just a little bit if it is a work. And that's like, I'm not angry. I'm not anything. I just, a lot of us are invested, and a lot of us that have not met Kyle O'Reilly, but consider him a brother in the business. That's a lot on our minds and our hearts to put us through that, I think anyway, especially when you're talking about somebody like me, that's I'm not a wrestler that's even close to that level. I'm far away, but we are all considered welcomed into this brotherhood, and we have a lot of concern for everybody. So I'm just saying, if that was a work, man, you can't do that to us. We worry. Everybody might look like a tough son of a bitch on TV, but we, the real ones, are concerned with everybody. I don't look like a tough son of a bitch.
No, absolutely. And hopefully we'll get some more information soon as to what exactly happened with Kyle O'Reilly at the end of NXT. But also this past weekend, Impact Wrestling presented No Surrender on Fight and, of course, on the Impact Plus app. We saw the first ever triple threat revolver match for the X Division title, where we saw Josh Alexander win that match. We saw Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz retain the Impact Knockouts Championships there in a Texas Tornado no disqualifications match. TJP retained the title against Rohit Raju, the X Division title there. And of course, the Good Brothers defeated Chris Sabin and James Storm, and of course, Private Party, who were in that match as well. And unfortunately, Tommy Dreamer did not capture the Impact World title on his 50th birthday. But another fantastic showing from Impact. And also just to mention as well, of course, this week they had Finjuice appear on Impact this week from New Japan Pro Wrestling. That so-called Forbidden Door continues to creak open indeed. Mad Dog, what are your thoughts on No Surrender and, of course, Finjuice?
Yeah, what a busy week for Impact Wrestling. I made sure to catch a lot of the footage this week. I don't normally get to catch up with them, but yeah, it was interesting to see what was going on. Just go back to No Surrender first of all. Decay versus AC Romero, Landy and Tennille Dashwood. That was an interesting one. It was good to see Black Taurus, who wrestled at TNT last year, making an appearance, and obviously he picked up the win for his team with the Green Mist and then his finish there. So that was a good one. I'm intrigued to see what they're doing with Brian Myers. It seems like he's got a bit of character development on the go, so it's good to see him, doing well after being in the WWE. It's good that he's over on Impact. The gauntlet match you were talking about was great. Really enjoyed that. I saw highlights of that with the guys in. Interestingly enough, Suicide was in there, who's going against Justin's pal Franco Varga in a couple of weeks, isn't he? So that was great to see him on there. And the concept of that match was really interesting, where it was like a gauntlet, and, started off as a triple threat, and then people came in as it went on. I was hoping for my boy Ace Austin to progress in that one and get to fight TJP, but it wasn't to be. And Josh Alexander, the walking weapon, looking very strong there. And then similarly on this week as well, he actually got his match for the Ernst, didn't he, against TJP, but came up just a bit short in that. But that division is really exciting at the moment. The people who are in that is, people like Chris Bay, Davari, Josh Alexander, Trey, and Ace Austin. That's a really exciting X division again all of a sudden. And, that's what led Impact back in the day to being such a great product, was when they had like the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels sort of X division then. That's what really built them up, especially in my eyes as a fan over here in the UK. That's what drew my interest to them, because people were like, did you see that triple threat match this week? And suddenly, this has happened again now, and you've got their eyes focused back on it. So, great stuff by them. And, couple of other exciting things. ODB was back, so always great to see ODB on there, which was good. And obviously, you mentioned the main event, Dan, which was for Tommy Dreamer's 50th birthday. And for his 50th birthday, he had his little finger horrifically dislocated. So that was a grim image, wasn't it? But good on him, Tommy Dreamer. He looked strong, didn't look too much off the pace, and great to see Tommy still doing well. Absolute ECW mainstay, and to see that he's still going on his 50th birthday and can hang with the champ on Impact, that's one way of showing how good he still is, and great stuff. And shame about the injury, and but he had a good match and didn't pick up the win, but it made the champ look good. And then obviously Moose came out and was causing havoc at the end there, so another good way to go off the air with Moose with both the titles. So I thoroughly enjoyed all the Impact Wrestling I caught this week. And Finn Juice, exciting addition to the roster. I thought it a bit odd that Private Party didn't do more, but Matt Hardy wasn't happy with them. I know that for sure. But yeah, I think that was an interesting crossover. It seems to have, as long as some fans have come over to watch it, and you've got more eyes on the product. That's all they need, isn't it? So yeah, I suppose that's where they're going with that. But make your champs look strong, as Justin would say.
Yeah, great action. I'm a fan of Impact, even prior to this kind of hooking up with AEW. Very happy to see ODB back on television, and it was awesome to see her. When was it? I think maybe All Out in Chicago. I think maybe 2019. We saw her jump in the ring with one of those battle royals. So it's cool to see her. Tommy Dreamer, an absolute great guy, continues to give back to this business, and what a great guy to have in your locker room. A guy who's done it all. Would have been nice for an old guy to get the belt. Maybe that's just me. But I love the fact that we've had all the speculation that happened when I got to think Wes Lee and Nash Carter, former Rascals, signed with NXT. Whereas Trey, it's nice to see Trey back. Of course, Trey very innovative in the ring. I don't know if you guys caught that, or he went backwards in the rope, rebounded into an RKO or a whatever you call it, the Ace Crusher, the Cutter. Very cool. So they've got great talent. One of the things that, and I don't want to recap every match like you, a couple of points. Josh Alexander, formerly of the North with Ego Page, got a great interview out with our good friend Simon, keeping it locked with right now. Check that out. Also, and just to pat ourselves on the back a little bit, we're selling packages for Wrestle Kingdom in Tokyo. That's always an event, but can you imagine if this keeps up with these crossovers, AEW, Impact, and Tokyo Wrestle Kingdom is already going to be the place to go, and we're going to be the best people to go see it with and take care of you and do everything. But can you imagine if that card is already epic? It's going to be epicer. I mean, I'm really excited to see Finn Juice and all the potential matchups that everything are going on there. I mean, I don't know how many packages, because packages are flying, and I don't know how many we have left, but man, do a little research and kind of figure out where some of these matches might end up in Tokyo in January of 2022. And I'm excited, but I'm always excited about Impact Wrestling. Chris Bay, dude, he's awesome. Rich Swann. It's one of those where you respect a lot of the talent so much. Like, what is, I don't want the hokey storylines, but the in-ring action to me is pretty darn good. It suffers from the same criticisms I give AEW and WWE. Don't get me wrong, but I just, that Impact hanging on. There's a lot of times. How many times have people written that promotion off for being dead? And it's just, Man, when we were in 2019, we sponsored the Bound for Glory, and I hadn't seen Impact in probably a year and a half. And I'm there live watching it and going, holy hell, this is great. So hats off to Impact. I love the fact that crossover, they're going to get more eyeballs on them. Slammiversary that happened in July, that was their June. That was the first one that I said, man, I didn't notice the no crowd thing didn't bother me because I was on the action in there. So hopefully you guys felt the same, and Impact just continues to grow.
Yeah, 100%. And as you mentioned there, Justin, about what could potentially be happening come January 2022 if this crossover continues, could be something absolutely incredible. But like you mentioned, our Wrestle Kingdom 16 packages are on sale for 2022. Head on over to wrestlingtravel.org to book your place. There are limited spaces left now, as you mentioned. They have been absolutely flying off the shelves, as they say. There, no matter where you are traveling from, your flights are included, your hotel stay near the Tokyo Dome with your breakfast included, tickets for Wrestle Kingdom, of course, guided tours to wrestling hotspots in Tokyo. You'll also get a Q&A with wrestling observers Dave Meltzer, plus other guests and surprise appearances along the way. You also get some exclusive merchandise and much, much more. And if you want a little teaser about what our trip does look like, I've got a little video for everyone to see. Take a look at this vlog. I absolutely hate that part of it.
You loved it. You were having a great time there, Dan. That looks like absolute bucket list stuff, that, mate. That looks amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have a great time?
Yeah, that video that he took, we went right to the top of the Tokyo Dome. Our cameraman, Chris, who was with us on the trip, and he just said, turn around and, just do a pose. So I just went. But yeah, some fantastic stuff there, of course. We do have hopefully some more videos coming soon, to obviously get everybody an insight of what the trip is like, but some fantastic things there. Justin, do you want to make
the food looked excellent, Danny? How'd you like the food there?
Some fantastic food, actually.
I was getting hungry just watching the video, and then did you also attended Jushin Thunder Liger's retirement ceremony, did you not?
Yeah, the New Year Dash, which hopefully we'll be able to add as add-ons to the trip come January, amongst other shows. Pro Wrestling Noah, which you saw in there as well, and Stardom. I think some of our travelers went to Joshi last time. There was all sorts of things going on. It is the Japanese equivalent of sort of WrestleMania week there. So yeah, definitely get on that. WrestlingTravel.org, wherever you're traveling from, Wrestle Kingdom 2022. 2. But speaking of one of those promotions that is involved, of course, with this crossover, AEW, to the delight of our man here, Justin Clapper, they announced an exploding barbed wire death match last night. One of Justin's favorite all-time matches is going to be happening. Look at his face on that coming soon. But obviously, Mad Dog, you're obviously very familiar with the death matches. What was your take on the announcement of this match last night with Kenny and Mox?
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but I am a fan of deathmatch wrestling, and I've been for a long time. As much as I appreciate, everything that Justin does, I was a big fan of Mick Foley and Cactus Jack as I was growing up, and I had the King of the Deathmatch tournament on VHS and all sorts of random deathmatch stuff. Because when I sort of was about 15, 16, that's when ECW was at the height of its popularity. So. As well, go on, Justin. Sorry.
No. I mean this. I mean this in all seriousness. I'm calling the timeout. In all seriousness, and I want to get back to what is it about the death? Is it just the exciting, the violence, the blood, the guts? What is it for somebody like you that I just want to understand why that would be like a preferred match? Like I could do a night of the death matches, and I did see that the Terry Funk and Cactus Jack exploding stuff and went, holy shit. But maybe it's as I get older, I just suck at life. But I think
I don't think you suck at all. I am a fan of like classic technical wrestling, British wrestling. I appreciate watching World of Sport stuff back. And anything that you send me, I always watch and always enjoy and appreciate.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to catch the British Bulldog match you mentioned, the Hidden Gem. I actually saw it about a month ago, and I uncovered it myself and watched that. So, I appreciate technical wrestling like everyone else, but as well, there was just something about like sort of deathmatch wrestling that I was really intrigued in when I was sort of about 15, 16 with ECW. And I was just, as well, WWE even took it into their bounds a bit. There was the match at the Royal Rumble between Triple H and Mick Foley that I thought was executed so well. But then, obviously, I work for an extreme wrestling company. We've had a tournament called DOA in the UK for like the last 3 years. And, some of our matches are extreme. They are death matches. And I can see there is an art to deathmatch wrestling as well, just in as much as, it may not be the technical wrestling that you enjoy. Deathmatch wrestling is a completely different kettle of fish, obviously. But I will say I was absolutely astonished to hear them words come out of Kenny Omega's mouth last night. When he said that, my jaw literally hit the floor, because that was not what I was expecting whatsoever. It was not where I was expecting to go with the storyline. It doesn't even seem to fit with anything that they've been working towards or anything. But obviously the forbidden door has opened, and sneaking in through the back door of that forbidden door was deathmatch wrestling. And I've read today that Tony Khan was a fan of deathmatch wrestling, and he said this is what we want to do, and that's what they're doing. And I'll go as far as to say some of the death matches I've seen have been absolutely brutal, but the ones which have had exploding rings in, even Mick Foley will tell you this. I've read his book, and I've met him numerous times, and even he'll say he was like slightly disappointed in some of the explosions that he's seen when it's meant to be an exploding ring. I think he was slightly disappointed with the one of the C4 explosions that was meant to be going off in Japan, where they hit the deck and they were like, "Oh God, here we go!" And when it went off, it was just like 4 cane pyros went off on the corner posts. So I don't think I've seen one or two where it's been brutal sort of exploding rings, but I've never seen one where it's sort of been what I was possibly expecting it to be. And you never know, these guys, AEW might just be wanting to do this. They might want to try and show people how it should be done. And, it could be brutal. It's got the, from seeing what Mox has been doing in the past and what he's looking towards, that might be the sort of thing he's interested in. And if that's what they want to do, then they're going to do it. They're doing it at Revolution, and it's there for all to see. So we can only judge it once it's happened. It may be a huge disappointment. It may be too brutal or too violent for some people, but I'm sure for myself and other extreme wrestling fans, it'll be a great match. And if these two are the best in the world, like they claim to be, then it gives them that showcase to do that. If they're going to go ahead and showcase it, let's see it. Let's have a exploding ring barbed wire death match, and and see what happens. I can't say I'm not excited for it, because I am. I want to see what they do. So good on them. Let's see what happens. And you never know, Justin. You might just enjoy it.
You might do.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why that's not something I'll enjoy. Obviously, they are both into these extreme type matches. We've seen them before. They're both fans of it. But here is why I asked that question. Once I get slammed on thumbtacks, exploding barbed wire ring, boom, and I kick out, how am I ever gonna get pinned by somebody's finisher like a jackhammer or something? What? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm gonna kick out on extreme death match, getting hit with light tubes, all this stuff, and kick out. Now, if they're gonna do this as a blow off to the end of their feud and not meet each other again for a while, then it can kind of make sense. Death match as a blow off to the end of the feud tells that story, has a little bit of that psychology, go a little bit. Don't. I'm not penciling this in as great, but a little bit of the psychology, blow off. They don't meet again for a while. So how do you see this death match ending if that's the case? Moxley obviously has, does Moxley regain this title? And if Moxley regains this title as kind of the guy who enjoys the death match, then you're going in all of a sudden you're going in a different direction without Omega and Don Callis. But we got Don Callis and Omega and all these other storylines tied into it. Then I would see Omega going over or some other creative way to get out of it. My problem with death matches is once you take that bump on exploding barbed wire, then why the hell would I ever see you, take somebody's finisher, anybody's right now? Why? Well, shit, you can kick out of 16 exploding bombs in these death matches, and now this guy just pinned you with the freaking Macho Man elbow off the top rope. It just doesn't make sense. And you can take that one way, two ways. You can go, okay, then we have to do more extreme stuff to him. No, we keep pushing the bar. And again, who am I? If they're selling tickets, who am I to open my big fat mouth? But that's my opinion, and I'm always going to give it.
You know what I think, JC? I think with this, the thing that they're looking for, one is spectacle. They're doing something WWE can't really do on their TV program, where they're working towards a family-friendly audience. So spectacle is one thing. It's for catering for a different set of fans is one thing, and also storyline-wise, it can still make sense because in two ways. One is Omega is trying to get Moxley in his backyard. This match should favor Moxley, in which case Omega is trying to say, I'm better than you, Mox, at what you do, which is an interesting concept. And secondly, as well, it could favor Moxley to the point where he wins the match, but then Omega comes back and says, well, hang on a minute. Although I suggested this, that's your type of match. Now we'll come back and have my type of match, which is best 2 out of 3 falls, last man standing, pure wrestling, whatever. But yeah, the way I sort of see it is they're going for the big spectacle, and also storyline wise, they are going somewhere with it because there's going to be a death match. So it's either going to be the blow off of the feud, or it could be that they give Moxley the belt back because of the death match. But then Omega comes back and says, well, that was that's played into your hands having that match. Let's see how you doing my sort of concept match instead. So it could follow on from that.
That just doesn't make sense to me when Omega's the one that suggested it. Like, I know we're speculating here, but if it's a blow off to a feud, it's fine. But I just don't see. I don't see where, and that's why I watch. I'd like to see. I'm looking beyond that match. What the ending of that match, and where do they go? I'm just not a fan of. If I came out and beat you with 37 chairs, and then pinned you, or you kicked out, and then the next match, you tap out to a figure 4 or to a DDT, that just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm hoping that there still is. We've got this spectacle. Of course they're going to have different eyeballs on it, but I hope they're still thinking storytelling and psychology and stuff, because otherwise what this sport that I'll call this art form becomes is just that, a spectacle. We're going to put on this play this week. Here's the, not the storytelling, interwinding the psychology. Then it just becomes, all right, what's our next step up from that? How can we top this one? Or who else can we put in this death match? I want it.
I was surprised. I was really surprised when my ears did prick up when he said that. But I was as surprised as anybody that that's the route they've chosen to go. But we can embrace it and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I'm just, I haven't been paying attention to the comments, but I'm sure I'm the bastard of the entire show. But I just don't know if anybody else,
I think a lot of people will be surprised by it as well, because it's not really been the direction they've been going. But then, with the whole door open and everything, it does bring these things. So it'll be exciting to see. The rest of the show as well was I didn't think it was as good as the last couple of shows they've done. To be honest, it wasn't my favorite episode. Did you get to watch any of the rest of it, JC, at all?
Well, before we segue away from this, I wanted you being at TNT Extreme Wrestling. All right. And I don't want you to give away any of your guys' trade secrets, but do you watch that and go, okay, we've got is every match for TNT Extreme, or are there people that are getting lambasted by light tubes and thumbtacks and kicking out of stuff, and then the next week somebody gives them a power slam and 1, 2, 3?
We do one deathmatch tournament a year, and we found it probably is our most popular show of the year. We have people coming from Europe and even coming over from the States to come and see DOA, and it's been a sellout every year we've done it, and it is it is very violent. There is a real market for that sort of thing. What we tend to do on most of our shows is we'll have one death match on it. It's normally the match before the break. It's normally for the Extreme Division Championship. And the reason for it being the match before the break, obviously, is it gives you time to clear up the glass, barbed wire, blood, change the ring apron or whatever that you need to do. But yeah, the death matches are very different than your normal matches you have. So you do tend to find that there's a suspension of disbelief as much as anything in a death match, whereby a lot of people are watching to see somebody get injured in a way, or to see something occur. So a lot of the matches, not necessarily a car crash, but like there'll be like a glass, someone being thrown for a piece of glass or something. But the whole match will be built around, it's a different type of art. There's wrestlers like Ricky Shane Page, Jimmy Lloyd, and Clint Margera here in the UK who specialize in that type of match where they can build up the crowd's anticipation to an event occurring, like somebody getting hit with a barbed wire baseball bat or something like that, as well as you would build up a move in a normal match. You know what I mean? It's it's just a different form of storytelling. And although the matches can be very brutal and violent, a lot of them, it shows how tough these competitors are. And also you can still have a great spectacle from it. It'd still be a great match. But as you say, it is not for everyone's taste. That's why we tend, on our normal shows, we tend to just have one of that sort of type of match. That way, if somebody is a bit queasy or, is not a fan of that style, there's still going to be something else on the card for them to enjoy. We have great tag matches. We have great technical wrestling matches. And Jay Apter, who's created TNT, has, based it
look at him.
a lot on ECW. I just saw this post in the background. I thought ECW, it's what a lot of it is based on, but it's still that they had, Chris Benoit wrestling there. They had Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko. They still brought through and showcased some of the best talent in the world. Luchadors, Psychosis, Rey Mysterio, and that's exactly the sort of concept that we're doing at TNT Extreme Wrestling. And one interesting thing I was going to mention is it's our 6th birthday in about 10 days' time. So we're coming up to our 6th birthday. So I think that's great, just to show that a company in Liverpool who is doing extreme wrestling and is following that format is still doing great and flourishing. And everyone just looks forward to coming back and doing more shows, don't they? So that's what we're looking forward to in the UK. And I think, JC, if you came over and watched a DOA style show, I think there would be something that you still found that you enjoyed that was wrestling based from it. And also, I don't think it would spoil. I think you could then look at the same wrestlers and think, oh, they've had a death match, but then when they're in a different type of match, they're still wrestling. So, the same sort of, it's built up in a certain way in a death match that you can still respect these competitors having normal style matches and say, oh, look, they can do that as well. But the death match is just a slightly different aspect of it. And it's more brutal, it's more violent. And, these guys couldn't have these matches every week, because if they did, they would be, they wouldn't be wrestling very long careers at all. So,
and you kind of sidestepped the question, but I don't think it was on purpose. But I'm just doing that stuff. My follow-up question, me sidestep. My follow-up question is, and of course, I want you to throw away your association with TNT, because I know that's awesome and it means a lot to you. Because I don't mean this question to sound disrespectful or to rag on death matches, but do we see, and I'm asking both of you, in a post-COVID world where we've been so scared about people getting infected and stuff, when fans come back, do you see how does that change that death match aspect, especially in a small arena where I imagine if I get smashed, there's a chance that blood and glass and stuff could make its way to me in the front row. Does the end of when we bring fans back, how do you see that changing matches like this?
I think you'd be surprised. A lot of the fans enjoy being part of wrestling action, but they enjoy being part of deathmatch action just as much. I have raised the point before whether we need to put like perspex up, how they do at NXT around the ringside. But I've seen fans get hit with light tubes and all sorts of crazy stuff happen at shows, and people just enjoy being part of the show. It's not often that and if someone does get injured, they know there's the potential of that happening, and we've always got medical staff on. No one's thankfully been injured or anything like that in the audience or in the ring too severely, thankfully. But we always have trained medical staff on hand if we need them. And I don't think it'll.
You don't think it'll change?
Coming after COVID, I think I do think there may be some changes. There may have to be some changes. It's stuff that they've looked at for to make sure things are safe. But I don't think it'll change the style of the matches that we're having at all. I think it'll just be there may be more stuff thought about. For example, if people haven't had their immunizations or vaccinations or whatever, whereby people may be wearing masks in the crowd. Also, TNT have obviously invested in face masks, which could be handy for a deathmatch tournament situation, whereby if there's like fluorescent light tubes or stuff flying about in the air, and the for example, the air conditioning in the building, moving that about. I think something like that. Everyone's got a face mask now. It's not going to bother them wearing it for Whereas before, if we'd said to everyone, you've got to wear a face mask just for your own safety for this, people would have been like, no chance. Whereas now, everyone wears a face mask every day anyway when they go to the shop. So it's not going to be a big issue for us to say, oh, if you want to wear your face mask for this one, you can do. There may be some broken light tubes flying through the air, etc. But yeah, I think I don't see the concept of the matches changing, to be honest. I think they'll still be able to have that style of match.
And I don't want to kill the death match, but what's cool is talking to you, that somebody who deals with this week in and week out, or month in and month out, but you're talking about the fact that your promotion, your home promotion, would be somebody who would lead on the safety of that with the death matches. That's refreshing to hear, because certainly, like I said, if they're putting an ass every 18 inches, who am I to argue with? If you guys are making money doing it, and that's what the fans want. Of course, you wouldn't be doing that once a year if that wasn't what the fans wanted. There's a certain aspect of it, but no, it's awesome to have this discussion right out in public, because we've got some differing opinions on blowing off a feud and stuff like that. And I certainly, if death matches are your thing, you're a wrestling fan, I'm not gonna tell you not to go.
The matter thing, I don't think me and you have different opinions but I just like to take my opinions to the extreme.
As he looks over for Jay after across his shoulder. Did I do good, boss?
What a legend.
Yeah, no, fantastic indeed. Fantastic discussion there about the death matches. But in a moment, we will talk about Elimination Chamber coming up this weekend. We'll be back in just a moment. And if you're ever wanting to know what it's like on a wrestling travel trip, take a look at this.
Fine, gonna take some time, gonna make her mind. Come and live the dream with wrestling travel. I'm the man, I got the plan. When it hits the fan, do all I can, do all I can.
Wrestling travel.
That Ric Flair guy. That Ric Flair guy was awesome, except I was talked into taking a chop from that guy, and I wanted to punch him in the throat because he just nippled me on it. And I was just, but great guy. I had to walk away, and I'm like, I'm not a fan of taking chops from untrained people anyway. But I learned my lesson.
Absolutely. But yes, of course, what it's like to be on a wrestling travel trip. We've got our WrestleMania 2022 packages currently on sale for Dallas, Texas. Places going fast as you would expect. Our classic premium VIP packages are available for fans traveling all around the world, whether you're from Europe, Australia, New Zealand, from Asia, from even within the US. You can also purchase our travel packages there. And we also have announced our hotel that will be based out this week, 4-star hotel in downtown Dallas, breakfast included, amongst other little perks as well. So make sure you get on that. All the information on wrestlingtravel.org. And if you want any further information, email info@wrestlingtravel.org. And also, if you've got your eyes on further ahead, WrestleMania 2023 packages in Los Angeles, California will be available next Thursday following our podcast episode, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern time there. So that's Thursday, the 25th of February. Mark that in your diaries if you are looking to get on that trip. You will have longer payment plans available for that trip, and you'll be able to secure your place for just £99 or $125. Absolutely brilliant. So that's next Thursday, and we'll certainly be discussing all about WrestleMania next week on the podcast. But moving into WWE, there's a big pay-per-view this weekend, Elimination Chamber. Looking at the card just quickly, we've got a WWE Championship match with Drew McIntyre defending his title against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Sheamus, and Kofi Kingston. The Raw Women's title, Asuka versus Lacey Evans. I believe that'll be changing now after what happened, of course, on Raw with Lacey announcing her pregnancy. We've got a triple threat match for the US title. Bobby Lashley defending against Keith Lee and Riddle. And there is also an Elimination Chamber match for a shot at the Universal title later that night. Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, King Corbin, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan. And I think we've got a special guest joining us to discuss the Elimination Chamber.
Hey.
Look at that.
P3 is here as we head into that. So I'll start with SB3 actually in terms of the Elimination Chamber. What are your thoughts heading into this weekend?
This is a card that's very much in flux due to, a lot of things going on with Keith Lee might not be on the card, Lacey Evans being pregnant and it won't be on the card, so we don't have a Raw Women's Championship matchup. and the matches that are on the card seem a little bit predictable. Like, I don't see a situation where Drew McIntyre doesn't win the Elimination Chamber. There is such
I agree.
We still got SP3 there. Seems to have lost him.
Can potentially win. Yeah. So we're gonna see with this. Not too sure about
SP3's Wi-Fi taking a little hit there. It must be all the cold weather in the States at the minute there causing some trouble. But yeah, fantastic. Indeed, definitely. I can't see Drew either losing there. Mad Dog, what about yourself? What are your thoughts heading into Elimination Chamber?
Well, I thought SmackDown was interesting how they built up the tag team matches with the tag teams getting into it. So I thought it was interesting how they did that. Good use of the show, to get it set up, that one. I'm quite interested for the US Championship match. It'll be exciting to see if Keith Lee does appear in that, because I feel like it's time that he did get a big push on pay-per-view. So it'd be good to see him go over in that. However, they've also been pushing Riddle, so that'll be interesting. And Lashley has looked like more of a monster than ever the last couple of weeks on Raw, when he's just been terrorizing Riddle. So that'll be quite an interesting match. And then obviously on Raw this week, they did a good job as well of building up the Raw one, whereby they had Sheamus has won the spot in the Gauntlet match to go in last in that one. So but I agree with SP3. I can't really see Drew losing in that unless they've got some other big plans going into Mania. There is another pay-per-view before Mania, isn't there? Is it Fastlane in a few weeks' time as well? So possibly there'll be they might just want to try and have a bit of an exciting period of time where they have different people challenging for the title. One thing I wasn't too impressed with was I didn't really get the whole idea of Miz giving up his spot for Morrison and then Kofi Kingston winning it. We'd said last week Kofi should have been in the match anyway, so it just seems like a bit of an oversight. And as well, there was never really any reason for Miz to be in that match as the the briefcase holder. We could argue that Edge has just won the Royal Rumble, and then 10 other people have just got a title shot before him. So I mean, that'd be. But that's the main event WrestleMania, isn't it? And so, but we could see changes because he hasn't said who he's going to face yet. So they're holding that off till they can start building properly. And Elimination Chamber, there could be titles changing, so it could be interesting. We'll have to see. And it'll be this Sunday live.
Absolutely. And Justin, obviously we've got the Elimination Chamber this weekend, but I wanted to get your opinion on, do you feel, I don't know if you've asked this before, do you feel that these gimmick pay-per-views have sort of ran their course, so to speak? Obviously, Elimination Chamber matches come in, there's going to be 2. It doesn't feel as special or as grand as it should be if it was, let's just say, a pay-per-view that's, there's been 6 guys, gals, whatever, feuding or whatnot. I mean, do you think that changes your perception of going into that with it being a big match feel or not? How does it make you feel?
Well, Elimination Chamber is something I always, there's different things. I've always enjoyed it. So I kind of have looked forward to it. But as you look at, remember when they did the Hell in the Cell pay-per-views, that was a little bit much for whatever reason. But the Elimination Chamber has kind of been ingrained into me that's going to happen. Probably that's the gimmick match that is going to happen, and how they can handle that and do different things. Obviously, there's different spots they can use off the Elimination Chamber. I'm sure a lot of the guys wouldn't mind not being slammed on the cage floor on the outside of the ring. But it's always they still have a lot of things they can do. The pods, sometimes they open, sometimes they don't. It is a pay-per-view that I do enjoy. But if they started doing it, hey, we're gonna have an Elimination Chamber at Survivor Series or stuff, now it's gonna be a little bit too washed for me. So that's one I can still give a pass to. Interestingly enough, you talk about this pay-per-view and then you have Fastlane. coming up. Fastlane should be the first one that goes out on the Peacock network, because it looked like March 18th was the day that it was going to switch over, Fastlane being March 21st. So that'll be interesting. I still think I'm giving them a pass on whether Keith Lee and some of these people are involved, because I do believe they have to keep it, like SP3 said, kind of in flux, because what happens if we do this build up, I want to keep Edge out of there so Edge and Drew do not get the virus, and we can still have this match that is set up or whatever. That I think everything else we got to kind of be careful, and it makes it a little bit more exciting to know, okay, there might be some of these matches drop. What are they going to do to replace them? So hopefully, I would imagine WWE, has plan Bs and Cs in place. I didn't get to hear you guys. Do you guys think who will win the Elimination Chamber match to face Roman Reigns? Who do you?
I think Cesaro
predict?
I think they
That's
continue
what I
his
thought.
push, because he's in this 3-week push, and that's the pushes in WWE. So I think they pay it off by having him win the Chamber and verse Roman.
And you bring up one of my points with WWE since like 2011, and even before that, is these very fast push turnarounds. That you got Kevin Steen, and now he's over here, but Cesaro's hot. We're going to give it. So we've got a lot of shuffling, which makes it hard for the casual fan and some of the longtime fan to keep up, because certainly Kevin Steen hasn't lost any of his popularity or anything, but now it kind of gets scooped by Cesaro. But that's my only thing.
I think the last couple of weeks on SmackDown, they've done a really good job of building up some other talent. People like Nakamura, Cesaro have looked a lot better. But I think they might put Kevin Owens over, actually, interestingly enough.
I just don't see the sense in that, because he already lost 3 times to Roman Reigns. Having him win this just to lose to Roman Reigns a 4th time, I don't think that does anything for Kevin Owens. That hurts his popularity. The fact that his popularity is still intact after 3 losses to Reigns in main events is a good thing, and they should keep it at that. Don't make it a 4th time.
So do you think somebody will take him out the Elimination Chamber and set up another feud, a separate feud for Fastlane? Do you think like Seth Rollins might intervene and affect his chances in that?
No, I think Seth Rollins going to feud with Cesaro. This is all these Elimination Chamber and then the championship match coming after it. It's to build up Cesaro, because Cesaro was supposed to be the guy that got that push that Nakamura got in the gauntlet. That's why I kind of made the face like, what did it take? Was kind of been pushed that gauntlet, because it wasn't for him. It was for Cesaro. So now they're actually focusing on Cesaro and giving him the push that he needs. I think they pay it off here. And then eventually at WrestleMania, he's the one that versus Seth, because they set that up with Seth's return on SmackDown.
Yeah, I think SmackDown's looking good at the moment as well. Daniel Bryan was looking strong a few weeks ago as well. And I think it's interesting to see where they go with it. What do you think about the sort of wild card SP3 of having Jey Uso in there? Do you think they would are they thinking of something with that as well, do you think?
I think Jey Uso is going to be in it to the end. Probably like the final 2 or 3 is going to have to include Jey Uso, because he's been so intertwined, so it only makes sense.
Danny, our friends in the US are having struggles with Wi-Fi today.
There's some things going on over there. Well, it must be that cold weather.
It could very well be, because Justin's disappeared.
Yeah.
And SP3 is just with us.
Yeah, there's something there.
But I'm looking forward to the show, though. Danny, what about yourself? Are you excited to see what happens there?
Yeah, absolutely. Elimination Chamber, always an interesting event, interesting matches that happen. But yeah, it's obviously going to give us a bit more of an idea of what's going to happen at WrestleMania, I think, moving forward. And I can't wait to watch it on Sunday. Is SP3? Are you back?
I think I'm back. We have a blizzard here in New York, so that might be the issue with my internet right now because it's snowing like cats and dogs outside my window right now.
How cold is it over there, SP3? Is it chilly? Yeah.
I think it's like about 17 degrees and it's snowing, so not good. So
Very
started to warm up here a bit, Dan, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's been some nice heat coming over from somewhere, but yeah, nice and warm. Just as we wait for Justin, let's just reverse Mad Dog back to the death match discussion. Now we've got SP3, just get his thoughts on obviously that announcement and obviously his feelings about that match itself. SP3, what are your thoughts on the exploding barbed wire death match?
I'm very much excited for this. Like AEW it seems to be surprising us, and they are delivering on what they promised. I think a lot of people focus in on one part of what Cody said when AEW was into, the thought process, and they say, oh, he said it was supposed to be sports baits and it's not that, and they always want to criticize that. But what he really promised was a smorgasbord of trying to give it back to all these wrestling fans that kind of have stopped watching, and this plays into that with the exploding barbed wire death match. I really was hoping Justin was here because I did hear a little bit of what you guys were chatting about, and I want to hear the AWA fan get old Jim Cornette about this because I know Cornette had an aneurysm here in this announcement. But the one thing I do disagree with Mad Dog on, he said that there wasn't anything that built up to this. Their first match was the lights out, no disqualification, anything goes match at Full Gear 2019. So they chose the two perfect guys to have this next level with Moxley and Kenny Omega. Like their lights out match was phenomenal at Full Gear 2019, and they took risks that weren't really seen on the United States side of the wrestling world. So that's why people, that enjoyed it, and that's why people that didn't enjoy it just hated it because it was not what they're used to seeing, and this just another level of that, and it's something that's going. I think it's be up there as far as like Mankind, Undertaker, that you go back and look at and say, okay, this wrestling might not be all the way real, but this is real.
Justin, I don't know if you heard much of that, but any response?
I heard part of it. I don't know if he heard. I don't want to rehash everything I said unless you did not hear it, SP3. Do you understand why I do not enjoy this announcement? Okay.
We've lost him again.
We lost him. If I'm going to bounce myself off of a barbed wire thumbtack exploding thing, and then I'm going to take somebody's finisher the next week, I'm kicking out of barbed wire explosions. And now, you guys, the psychology and storytelling, like, where do you go from here? Who do you see going over? Omega. Yeah, I was at Baltimore Full Gear, and that puts asses in seats. My ass left that seat and made it back to the hotel while that match was still going on, because it's just not for me. And if it's for everybody else, that's great. I just had a great lengthy discussion with Mad Dog, but about that, because who am I to say if you enjoy that kind of style going on? But storyline psychology, when we get into the real storytelling, not storyline, when we get into the real deal, it just doesn't. It's the guy that takes 37 chair shots to the head and kicks out, and the next week he takes a stunner and he's done. Like, my willingness to suspend my disbelief in pro wrestling and the way I was brought into it is tough. So, man, if this is going to do everything it can for them, that's great. My big question is, I want to see on the other side, like where do they if Moxley takes the title, that takes all the wind out of the sails of this Don Callis and Kenny Omega thing, I feel. Then if Omega wins, John Moxley obviously does a ton of these death matches and a big fan. as far as death matches go, SB3, I'm anxious to see the outcome of this one. Not so much, and I will watch it, and I will see if somebody gets on exploding barbed wire and kicks out at 1 or kicks out at 2, and then the next week takes a finisher and gets pinned. Although these guys are marquee, it's just that's where I have a lot of problem with the death match. But I don't like it, but I support you guys 100% in liking it. Just because I got to understand that the wrestling world has changed. You missed my talk about the Rock and Roll Express versus the British Bulldogs with Georgia Smith, but hopefully you can go back. But who do you see winning this, and where do they go? That's my question.
I mean, I see Omega winning here, and I don't. It's even a question that Omega would not win this year. Like, he's the hottest star in AEW. He's the AEW World Champion, and Moxley
WWE
has already won that too. And Moxley has already won the Lights Out match, so it only makes sense for Omega to win this one, and they're 1-1. So it only makes sense. Omega can get help, and you could protect Moxley. Moxley doesn't lose anything by losing this match, so it all makes sense for Omega to win here. Win person that I've heard ask that question, so credit to you for being unique for that question, but no one's asking that question. Everybody's like, they want to see this match. And if you had saw the Full Gear 2019 Lights Out match, they had a lot of psychology and storytelling and drama in that match. They didn't start off with like the barbed wire bed that he suplexed them into. They build up to that. They had broomsticks, then they had barbed wire broomsticks, then they had they build up, they used it in a very nice way, and they had more psychology than death matches have ever had, and that's why it was so lauded the way it was for 2019.
I certainly like my build up to include broomsticks and barbed wire. I missed you so much on the beginning of the show.
Excellent stuff. But yeah, looking forward to that, of course. Elimination Chamber this weekend on the WWE Network. Just to mention that it's going to be the last one on the network in the US before it moves over to Peacock. And of course, coming up later tonight on our YouTube channel, we've got a brand new lockdown session with Georgia Smith, who appeared on the podcast earlier. You can catch that later on our YouTube. It will be posted across our socials when that is live and ready. A great insight into the daughter of the future Hall of Famer, the British Bulldog, coming up later. But going on our Twitter accounts and beyond in just a moment, we do have a special giveaway in partnership with Wrestling Trader. We are giving away an Orange Cassidy AEW Unrivaled figure. This is going live on Twitter in the next few minutes. There, all you need to do is like, retweet, and comment your favorite Orange Cassidy GIF to enter that competition there. It will also be posted as well on Instagram and Facebook as well, with all the details. And of course, if you want to head on over to Wrestling Trader for all your favorite wrestling action figures and memorabilia, there are some fantastic exclusives and brand new things on there at this moment in time. Head on to www.wrestlingtrader.co.uk and check them out at Wrestling Trader. And of course, head on over to the Wrestle Merch Central website to get all of your merch there. Of course, some wrestling travel merch with our brand new shirt currently available, created by Rich Baker at Style and Profile. And of course, as Mad Dog mentioned, there are TNT Extreme Wrestling merchandise there with their superstars as well. And of course, Georgia Smith mentioned the British Bulldog merchandise is available as well on Wrestle Merch Central and Powered 4 TV. Of course, we still have a offer running there where you'll be able to find TNT Extreme Wrestling, Wrestling Travel, True Heel Heat, amongst other promotions as well. You get 50% off your first month using the code TRAVEL on powered4.tv. Justin, is there anything else that you want to add?
Well, we've got some interesting things always working behind the scenes. We've got some cool things coming up with Powered 4 TV that I can't get into right now. And I also have been working very hard behind the scenes. I know they're flying off the shelves, and I'm not just saying that, but our wrestling travel packages for WrestleMania in Dallas. As you know, I've mentioned before what the talent that I had in line to be at our private parties and stuff in Tampa before that got canceled. I have knocked that out of the park so far with some potential huge announcements coming up along the way. And we got limited spots of it because I think if people aren't getting in now when they can cut that monthly payment down, they're going to kind of kick themselves, I think, once these announcements come through. Of course, I can let the other lads know off the air, but Danny, you already know, you can back me up. We got some big irons in the fire, which I'm really happy about. So, and is this are we letting it go? Do I have to plug my socials on this part?
Yeah, go on, get them plugged.
Right. Well, I hope I get a graphic, but you can follow me at Clapper77 on Twitter. I'm at JC at WT. So JCATWT. My TikTok is blowing up. I'm doing the fans. No, I'm not doing it. I got some cool wrestling clips that most of them were conducted under the auspices of Wrestling Travel. So you can get kind of an idea of where our seats are, what we're seeing, and everything we're doing. And as always, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to come on and have a nice casual conversation and arguments with SP3 and Mad Dog. So I love it.
No, absolutely indeed. And Mad Dog, where can we find you and what have you got coming up this week?
Yeah. So you can always find me on at Angus Mad Dog on Twitter, Mike Mad Dog Angus at Facebook. And obviously, after seeing all them food clips before, we should mention that you can check out Mangus Bites on Instagram as well for all the foodies out there. I just want to mention, we didn't get to say earlier, congratulations to Harlem Bravado and Taya Valkyrie, who've gone over to NXT. Harlem trained at the All-Star Academy with Dean Allmark as one of the teachers over here. So great guy, great, real someone Justin would get along with very well. A student of the game who, when he was training wrestlers over here, had them watching back matches on the network from the 80s, from the 70s. Really good guy. And congratulations to him for getting onto NXT. Also, I wanted to say, I've really enjoyed recently 205 Live and NXT UK. I've made sure to check them out the last couple of weeks. And some of the storylines and matches on that have been great. August Gray and Jake Atlas, the storyline they've got against the 205 Originals has been brilliant. And also on NXT UK this week, the main event was a tables match, which was Eddie Dennis and Primate against the Welsh lads Mandrews and Flash Morgan Webster. And if you didn't get to see that one, it's worth checking out on the network and having a little look at that because that was great. Also, obviously, you can find me on TNT Extreme Wrestling, and I'm going to be commentating for Superstar Pro Wrestling. We've just announced some new members of our roster, so congratulations to Hannah Taylor and Dan Evans, who've joined our roster over there. Looking forward to be bringing shows to Liverpool later on in the year. And I just want to say thanks so much for having me on the show, as always, guys. Always great to chat to Justin and Dan and SP3 when he gets out of his blizzard. And a real honour to get to speak to Georgia Smith today, daughter of the British Bulldog. Absolutely brilliant, that. Thanks so much. And I look forward to catching up with you guys next week. And in the next couple of weeks, I have got a little gift for you guys. So you'll see that soon. A little surprise for you coming up. But I'll tell you more about that when we've got it sorted out. So
fantastic. And SP3, excuse me.
Well, let's help him out. He's
from True Heel Heat.
True Heel Heat, no E. I know SP3 has just started his own personal Twitter account. I don't know what that is, but look up SP3. Look up True Heel Heat. If you're not following them, they do a great job. I always say I don't know where SP3 finds time to sleep between raising his family and doing everything. And also the SP3 show is on Powered 4 TV. What is that, Mondays?
Yeah, I believe so. Monday afternoons. He's on the Powered 4 TV show, normally with John Scott, I think. So that should be pretty good to check out. And also, you can find him with Alex McCarthy on Wrestling 2, which is, I believe, Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock, is it?
We'll have to find out. And Sports Kita, obviously, too.
What a legend SP3 is. The oracle of professional wrestling.
Yeah, no, we do thank him for joining us, even if it was briefly, but hopefully we'll get him back to full.
And stay safe in that blizzard.
Yeah, definitely. But we want to thank everyone for joining us today, of course, watching on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Make sure you check out the giveaway for the Orange Cassidy Wrestling Trader competition. And, of course, make sure you check out the lockdown session with Georgia Smith a little bit later on our YouTube. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next Thursday for our big 2023 package launch.